What's going on, guys? I wanted to do something a bit different since we hit 1,000 subscribers by trying to put together a $10 Leathercraft starter kit using only the dollar store. Rose Anvil had a good video where he went to Harbor Freight and showed how you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars to get started working with leather. Corter Leather also had a good video where they made a leather wallet without tools. I'll leave them both linked in the description below. I also used to really like watching the $10 dollar store survival kit builds, so all of these inspired me to try to use the dollar store with $10 to see what items that I could get to be able to make something out of leather. The 10 items I was looking for were a cutting board, a knife or razor blade, thread, needles, sandpaper, glue, wax, a ruler, a stitching hole punch, and a lighter. So I found everything. Now let's go over what I got. So the first item we got is this cutting board. Now I chose this over the cutting mat because those mats usually you can cut through them pretty easily, so it would probably rip apart as I'm cutting it. This one will be a lot more durable and will hold up with cuts. Plus you could probably use it later on to punch holes. I got some sandpaper. This is a sandpaper set, pack from 80 to 400 grit, which I could probably use in the future anyways. Plus they give you 24 pieces. Not too bad. Will help shape the item a bit more. For glue, I got this Fix All adhesive super glue. I don't want to use too much of this because it'll harden and make it really difficult to punch holes for stitching. So I think this one will be good if I just use a little bit on the edges to hold things in place while I'm stitching. Lighter, obviously, to burn off the thread at the end and burn off any frizzing from the leather, so come in handy. For thread, I was looking at two different kinds, cotton twine and jute twine. I went with the jute twine because I feel like this one is definitely stronger than the cotton. Plus I'll be able to split it in half if I need to get a thinner piece of thread. What I was really looking for was artificial sinew. That would be really good to use, but they didn't have any. I know some dollar stores, they do have some. This is pretty thin. It's a pretty good roll. We'll see how that works. To thread everything, the only thing that I could find was this little sewing kit. But the problem is that the needles, as I was expecting, are probably a bit too small. If you can see the eyelets, there's no way that the jute twine will be able to fit through these. So this may be useless, or I might have to try to use one of these pins as kind of like a hook and fish the twine through the holes. Got some candles, just some tea candles. This can be used for the twine. It's not the best. Obviously it's not beeswax, but it's some wax. So it'll help kind of thin out the jute twine as I pull it through. It could also be used to darken the leather if you don't have any dye either. If you rub this on and kind of like burn it in to the leather. It's a way to age it, make it look a little bit more aged. I think this one would be alright. I went with the scented ones because it felt a little bit softer so I'll be able to actually run the twine through it and it pull onto the twine, as opposed to the regular tea candles. They would just like kind of chip away as I would run the twine through. So this will be handy. Is the utility knife and this little tool set. Now I could have just not bought this and saved $1, but I was worried that this blade, how thin it is, that it would be really easy to break. So, and leather's pretty tough, so you don't really want to go through all these blades. This one has replacement blades, so I know I'll definitely be able to get at least one wallet cut out from using these blades. With this one, I wanted to use the screwdriver, the mini screwdriver, and try to sand down the point until it gets sharp. That way it could be used as a scratch-all. Plus I could use it to punch the stitching holes if I get it sharp enough, because my original idea was to use push pins to punch holes through, but the push pins are a little too thin, especially for this type of thread. So I think if I use this, if I get this sharp enough, the screwdriver sharp enough, I'll be able to punch through and it'll give me like a decent size hole, and it'll be a circle hole, so it won't look too bad. Last item is this square ruler. This will be good. It's not perfectly square, it's a little off, but that's not really important. All we really need is the one side to it. And you know, we can use the markings, plus it's metal, so there won't really be an issue running our blade against it. We'll probably have to use the markings for our stitching hole punches, since we don't have any sort of guide to, you know, where we set our punches for the stitching. So this is all the 10 items that I bought. I think everything will work pretty good. The only issue is getting the twine through the holes, since these sewing needles don't have wide eyelets. So that'll be the only issue, but I'll figure out something. You could always use one of the screwdriver if you can get it to punch through the hole. You could probably just push the twine through and then just kind of hand sew without any needles. Or I'll use one of those clips to try to like fish it through. And I hope you guys enjoy this video, what I got, you know, to give you an idea of, you know, what you need to get started. Obviously, if you can, you know, upgrade this stuff, but this would pretty much set you up. You know, if you got thread instead of twine, you know, this might be $5, $6. If you got even these cheap sewing needles, I think you can find them at Hobby Lobby. You know, they're $3 for a pack of 10. Obviously, you know, this would be an upgrade from this, or this X-Acto knife. Instead of trying to kind of make your own tool. I've been using these for over a year and they still do pretty well. They're only like $12, $13. Instead of trying to kind of whittle your own, you know, that would be the upgrade. But the sandpaper should be fine. The ruler, that'll be fine. I mean, it's metal. You know, I wouldn't count on using the right angle for it, but that'll work. Cutting board, I mean, that's pretty good. It's pretty small, but you probably won't be cutting anything that big anyways. Probably wouldn't use too much of this just because, like I said, it hardens and it might be hard on the hole punches. Wax, if you get beeswax, you can get beeswax at a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's or a Tandy or online, pretty cheap. Beeswax would definitely be much better alternative. But yeah, that's kind of my setup for $10. This should be able to make us something. So next video I'll have what we made out of all these items and we'll see how it turned out. Hopefully it turns out pretty well. Thanks again for 1,000 subscribers. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you guys on the next video.